The scent of grilled seafood drifted through the humid August air, but not enough to mask the sharp edge in my mother's voice as it cut through the chatter. "Hey, Claire," she called out from across the deck, her tone dripping with that performative cheer that always meant something ugly was coming. 33 years old and still not paying rent? Time to grow up or get out." The words hung in the sticky evening heat, floating above the sound of gulls and the waves rolling against the shore. We were at my parents' beach house in Wilmington, North Carolina, our annual summer gathering. Neighbors were scattered around the deck with plastic cups of sangria, pretending not to hear but clearly listening. That was the point. She wanted an audience. The laughter that followed wasn't just hers. My stepfather, Raymond, grinned into his beer, while my younger half-sister, Elise, smirked from her seat near the cooler. I kept my grip steady on the platter of shrimp skewers I was carrying, though the foil crinkled under my tightening hands. "You've been taking a third of my paycheck every month for utilities," I said evenly, setting the platter on the buffet table. "I've been paying more than my share for years." Her lips curled into a mocking smile. "That's life. If you don't like it, move out. But we both know you can't afford that." "Yeah," Elise chimed in. "Good luck finding anywhere decent on your salary." The air was heavy. Not just with the smell of charred seafood and sunscreen, but with the thick, familiar weight of condescension. They expected me to swallow it, maybe laugh it off, maybe cry later in private. That's how it always went. Not this time. I stepped closer to her, close enough to see the reflection of the deck lights in her wine glass. My voice was low but steady. "Fine. You want me gone? You'll get your wish," she snorted. "And where exactly are you going? Back to that shoebox apartment with the leaky ceiling? You've got no savings, Claire." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The rest of the evening passed in a haze of small talk and forced smiles. But in my mind, everything was sharp, deliberate. I'd been planning my exit for months. Quietly. Just last week, I'd signed the papers and picked up the keys to my own place. A restored brick townhouse downtown. She thought she was pushing me out. She had no idea I was already gone. And when I left, I wouldn't just take my things. I'd take the comfort she thought she controlled. The next morning, I loaded the last box into the back of my Navy SUV. My hands trembled. Not from sadness, but from the electric thrill of finally cutting the cord. The salt-tinged breeze from the Atlantic filled my lungs as I pulled away from the beach house without looking back. By mid-morning, I was parking in front of my new place, a restored 2-story brick townhouse downtown, with white trim and a small balcony that overlooked the quiet street. The air here smelled cleaner, lighter. My home. The deed sat on my kitchen counter before noon, my name in bold letters across the top. I took a picture of it and sent my mother a short message. The reply didn't take long. Within an hour, her name flashed across my phone screen. I let it ring. Then came a call from Raymond. Ignored. By dinner time, I heard the rumble of a familiar pickup truck outside. Peeking through the blinds, I saw her, my mother, climbing out of the passenger seat. Face pale, lips pressed into a razor-thin line. Raymond followed, his brow furrowed. Elise's car idled behind them. The music turned off. I stepped out onto my balcony as they reached the sidewalk. My mother's voice carried up to me, tight and urgent. "You're not serious, Claire." Leaning against the railing, I met her eyes. "You told me to pay rent or get out. I chose get out. And I'm done paying your bills, too." Raymond's face hardened. Elise shifted uncomfortably, for once without her usual smirk. For the first time in my life, I felt the shift, like the tide turning. I wasn't the dependent daughter they could lean on anymore. When they left, I stayed on the balcony, letting the August air settle around me. It wasn't relief yet. It was something sharper. A freedom, so new it almost stung. Inside, I opened my laptop and got to work. One by one, I severed every financial tie. Electric bill, removed from my account. Gas, transferred. Internet, water, car insurance, gone. Each confirmation email felt like a brick lifted from my chest. An hour later, my phone rang. Mom, ignored. Then Raymond, ignored. Elise, ignored. Across Hiordiles, by late evening, the family group chat lit up, loading client knowledge into one commerce app. Mom always act like the Clispaneerings. This isn't funny, Claire. The Wi-Fi's down. Raymond, you can't just shut things off. Elise, wow, hope you're happy. You ruined dinner. I typed one line and hit send. I've moved out. Bills are your responsibility now. I thought that would be the end of it, until I saw their SUV pull up in front of my townhouse the next afternoon. Raymond got out first, his jaw clenched tight. My mother followed, arms folded across her chest like a shield. Elise stayed in the car, scrolling on her phone, pretending she wasn't watching. Raymond stopped at the bottom of my front steps. All right, enough of this. You've made your point. Turn the accounts back on for a week while we get things sorted. I met his gaze without flinching. You've been taking a third of my paycheck for years. You made it clear on the deck the other night. You wanted me gone. Well, I'm gone. And so is my money. My mother gave a short, brittle laugh. Wow, cold. No, I said, stepping down until we were face to face. Cold is mocking your own daughter in front of the neighbors. This is warm compared to that. Raymond opened his mouth, but nothing came out. For the first time, I saw something unfamiliar in his expression. Hesitation. I turned and walked back up the steps. You'll figure it out, I said over my shoulder, just like I did. The door clicked shut behind me. For the first time in years, I realized I was the one holding the lock. The next morning, I woke to the kind of silence I'd forgotten existed. No heavy footsteps in the hallway, no TV blaring, no sharp voices echoing from the kitchen, just stillness. I made coffee in my small but sunlit kitchen, the steam curling lazily in the warm August light. For a moment, I almost smiled, until my phone started buzzing. Raymond, call us. This is urgent. Mom, the electric's off. Food's spoiling. We have to talk. Mom again. If you care about this family, you'll fix this today. I set the phone down and took another slow sip of coffee. Their chaos was no longer my responsibility. By noon, there was a sharp knock at my door, 3 times, quick and hard. I checked the porch camera. My mother stood there alone, sunglasses covering half her face. I opened the door just enough to speak. What do you want? Her smile was tight, forced. We need the car insurance in your name for just a few more days. Elise has an interview. I've already moved it to my address, I said evenly. It's my policy. If Elise is driving, she needs her own. Her jaw twitched, but she didn't argue. This time, she was the one walking away. If you've been following my story, you know this is just the beginning. Subscribe now, so you don't miss what happens when they try one last move to pull me back in. You're punishing us, my mother said, her sunglasses sliding down just enough for me to catch the edge of her glare. No, I replied, leaning against the doorframe. I'm refusing to be punished anymore. She blinked, thrown off by my calm tone. Your stepfather's furious. You know he's only like this because he's stressed. The shop closing? I tilted my head. That shop closed 3 years ago. He's had 3 years to stop leaning on me like a crutch. For a second, her carefully composed mask slipped, her eyes sharpened, voice lowering. You'll regret this. Sooner than you think, I said, and closed the door without another word. That night, while unpacking boxes in my new living room, my phone lit up with an alert from my bank. Suspicious login attempt detected. My stomach tightened. Logged in, multiple failed password attempts. Then something else caught my eye. A department store credit card I'd never opened, registered under my name but tied to an address that wasn't mine. It didn't take much to connect the dots. My purse had mysteriously gone missing in the old house last year, only to reappear 2 days later with nothing missing. Or so I thought. My stepbrother Tyler. I printed every bank email, every fraudulent statement, sliding them into a folder labeled boundaries in big black letters. This wasn't just about protecting myself anymore. I was building a case. Near midnight, my phone buzzed again. Tyler, you think you're better than us now? Watch your mailbox. I stared at the screen, feeling the anger in my chest condense into something colder, sharper. They weren't just losing my money. They were losing their grip. And the more they realized it, the uglier this was going to get. The next 2 days were quiet. Too quiet. No knocks, no calls, just the occasional text from Tyler, each one dripping with sarcasm or thinly veiled threats. I kept my replies short and always in writing, careful, like my attorney had advised. Every word, every date, every attempt to bait me went into that same folder. By the third morning, the silence broke. My phone buzzed nonstop as I sipped coffee at my kitchen counter. Screenshots from friends and neighbors started rolling in, public posts on my mother's personal page, written in that wounded, self-pitying tone she'd perfected. Some people think they can just turn their back on family. After all we've done, they leave us in the dark, literally. The comments were predictable: sympathy from mutual friends, nosy questions from distant relatives I hadn't heard from in years. And of course, her signature move, leaving just enough detail out so the villain could be anyone. But the most telling thing? Not one of them tagged me. Not one said my name. They wanted to spin their story without giving me a brush. I didn't take the bait. Instead, I called the power company, water company, and internet provider again to double-check that every account was fully switched to their names. I wasn't leaving them a single inch of leverage. By noon, my doorbell rang. The porch camera made my jaw tighten. Raymond, alone this time, hands buried deep in his shorts pockets. I opened the door but stayed firmly behind the threshold. "What is it?" His voice was calmer than I expected, but there was still an edge. "We've got a situation. The mortgage payment's due, and without your transfer—" "Not my problem," I said before he could finish. His eyes narrowed. "Do you even hear yourself? You've been part of this household for years. You don't just walk away from responsibilities overnight." I laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. "You mean the responsibilities you dumped on me the moment I started working? The ones you never asked about, just took?" He stepped closer. "You think this new place makes you better than us? That you can just hide here while we drown?" "I'm not hiding, Raymond. I'm just done being your lifeline." His jaw tightened like he was holding back a dozen threats. Then he turned, but not before tossing a final shot over his shoulder. "You'll regret this when you come crawling back." I closed the door slowly, almost savoring the click of the lock. Crawling back wasn't in my vocabulary anymore. That evening, as the August sun sank low over the rooftops, I saw the unraveling begin. A neighbor from my old street called, voice low, like sharing a secret. "They're out in the driveway yelling. Something about the bank account being overdrawn. Denise says she can't buy groceries. He keeps saying it's your fault." I thanked them, hung up, and sat in silence for a moment. They were finally feeling what I'd carried alone for years, the weight pressing down on them instead of me. The next day, I made my next move. I went to the bank, met with the branch manager, and closed the last joint account they still had access to. When I left, the folder in my bag felt heavier, thicker, more complete. That evening, a text from my mother. "You've made your point. We get it. Just please help us this month. We'll figure it out after." I didn't reply. 2 hours later, a public post on her profile. Funny how people change when they think they don't need you anymore. But life has a way of humbling everyone. And for once, my mother was right. Though not in the way she imagined. It was a humid Saturday morning when the perfect opportunity landed in my lap. I was at my kitchen counter, sipping coffee, scrolling through emails when one popped up from the mortgage company, tied to my parents' beach house. The subject line read, "Urgent, past due balance, notice of public auction." At first, I thought it was some clerical error. I hadn't lived there for weeks, and I'd already removed my name from every account linked to that address. But when I opened the message, I realized the bank must still have me listed as an emergency contact from years ago. The letter was short and blunt. 2 payments missed. No arrangement made. Auction scheduled in 30 days. I sat there, letting the words sink in. This was it. Proof in black and white that all their bluster and finger-pointing was just smoke. Before, I might have rushed over, tried to fix it, drained my account again to save the family. But that version of me was gone. Instead, I hit print. The paper slid warm into my hand. I placed it neatly into my boundaries folder. By noon, the inevitable came, the pounding at my door. When I checked the porch camera, all three of them were there. Raymond red-faced, my mother tight-lipped, Elise with that smug half-smile, like she'd just caught me bluffing. I stepped outside, shutting the door behind me. "You saw the notice," Raymond said. "We can't lose the house, Claire. You're gonna help fix this." I folded my arms. "No, I'm not. You're still family." His voice was loud enough for the neighbors across the street to look up from their lawn chairs. I didn't lower mine. Family doesn't use you like an ATM. Family doesn't laugh while you're humiliated in front of half the neighborhood. And family doesn't commit fraud in your name and expect you to just take it. My mother stepped forward, eyes flicking nervously toward the watching neighbors. "Do you have to make a scene?" "Yes," I said flatly, "because you never had a problem making one when it suited you." Elise muttered something under her breath. "You're right," I said, turning to her. "It is unbelievable I let this go on for as long as I did." Raymond's voice dropped to that low, threatening tone he used to think could scare me into silence. "If you walk away from this, you'll be nothing to us." I smiled, no humor, just steel. "Then I'll be nothing to you and everything to myself." Before I went inside, I pulled the printed foreclosure notice from my folder and held it up where all three could see. "This," I said, my voice cutting through the thick air, "is what happens when the person you've been draining finally stops bleeding for you." I let the paper drop to the porch. The click of the lock behind me was the most satisfying sound I'd heard in years. Through the blinds, I saw them hesitate, Raymond frozen, my mother glancing toward the neighbors, Elise nudging the paper with her shoe like it might bite. Then they left. That evening, I posted one vague sentence on my own social media. Sometimes the best gift you can give someone is the chance to stand on their own 2 feet. The comments poured in. Friends congratulating me, distant relatives sending quiet messages of support. I never named them. I didn't need to, because their downfall wasn't my story to tell anymore. It was theirs to live. And I was finally free to live mine. If you've ever felt trapped by family obligations, remember this. Boundaries aren't cruelty, they're survival. You are allowed to protect your time, money, and energy. Don't let guilt be the leash that keeps you in place. Cut it, and you'll be amazed how much lighter you feel.